Hello, this is Max Drake. I'd just like to talk about GlideApps, Google Sheets rather, with some of the things. Like inside GlideApps, there is the data panel through here where you can add a column, and the new column can be basic column, a text number, date, time, image, links, all of these sorts of ones through here, which are pretty standard. And then they have these specialist ones, which are relevant or very relevant to GlideApps. Now, these are baked into GlideApps, so there's some tutorials on a lot of those, so I'm not going to talk about those. What I want to talk about is just an overview of Google Sheets, and then also just some of the power of the things that you can do and how they can get you out of some of the trouble that you may get into. Not necessarily trouble, just there's alternative ways of doing things. Like inside GlideApps, they've got charts, and their charts are very fast. But they've only got a limited selection. They've got the pie ones and the bar charts and a couple of the other ones through there. But through here, this one here has got quite sophisticated charts through here on this personal app through here. If we just look at the charts through here, this one's quite a complex one. Far too complex for the actual app itself, but it does give an indicator of when big bills are going to be coming through. So you've got an overview thing like that. The other thing as well is inside Google Sheets, you've got your information coming through and it's doing its stuff, but it's the text styles or any of that doesn't really flow through. But one thing which you can do through here is that you can use emojis to actually put extra data. So I can copy this image of that, and then inside a cell or something through here, I can actually add that emoji on, and it comes through. Inside Glide there are emojis as well, but there's just another alternative that you can actually just lift up your app a bit just for some of the stylings and stuff. So I just want to go through some of the processes that you can use. So first of all, inside GlideApps itself, you've got the data panel through there, and you can set up a lot of the panel types, or sorry, the column types based on a lot of the GlideApp selection processes that you use. And they recommend that you use those as far as possible whenever you're doing apps for the app template store. So that's one of the things. But I get emails coming through of people who are just talking about some of my apps or some of my videos, and some of the comments in them, you're suddenly thinking, oh, that's a little bit odd. So it's like people are either not that confident with spreadsheets or they're just a bit uncomfortable. But before I go into a lot of the functionality of the basic spreadsheets and some of the things that you can do within the Google Sheets, which is, I think, is quite brilliant, and it is a fantastic back end for the GlideApps and things like that, it can do a few more things. So we're going to talk about functions, and we're going to talk some of the functions, some of the things you can actually do, which can actually enhance some of your apps that you might be thinking of. But I just want to talk about some other tools that you can use. Now, one of the tools that you can use, so you can actually get your functions, and you can get things like queries, which is like interrogating a database. So you can quite a complex string of functions to actually work all together. But then on another level of things that you can do on this one here, I'm just going to go to, no, I think I want out or something like that. You've got this one called scripts. So I can actually write my own scripts of programming language through here. Now, if we just hit Tools, Script Editor, you can do macros. Now inside macros you can do a record a macro. So if I go into this cell here and type this, and then if I go into this one and I say this is equal to this plus that, and then it comes through and does that. Or actually it should be plus, it should be and it comes through and adds the other things on and does that. So you can actually add data onto things that you want. But inside here, you're actually doing coding. So if you come into here and you go Tools and you go, so the macros do the things, and if you type in a certain string of words, they will put in that same string all the time, or it does those functions and it put in those numbers. So a lot of the times you don't want specific numbers to go in, you want something generic. And that's where if you do the coding in the code, it actually makes it more generalized, like just take what's in this cell and add it to this cell and do this or do that. This one here is set the formula. It's actually doing a concatenation, and it's actually making a formula and putting it in a certain range. So it's actually doing this, and it fills down every time. So this particular one is copying a formula across, and it's putting it in. So each time a new row is created inside GlideApps, this then fills in and does some other data within there. So that's one methodology of doing it. Now, this is called gas strips. Now, you can actually publish this. You can deploy it as a web app so that you can then call it from something else. There's a deploy as an API executable, but I haven't done that one yet. Or you can deploy as an sheet add-in. So this first one here is we are actually writing a little script here, which is calling these functions down below, on edit time, on edit date time, and these are the ones. And this is adding a menu called scripts. So if we just look at a normal spreadsheet in here, we've got tools, add-ons, help. Whereas in this one, we've got tools, add-ons, help, and then we've written a new one, script, which we can actually run these formulas from inside the spreadsheet itself. The other thing with that, now the power with doing all of these scripts when you come into here, not only can you save them, you can come into here, you can select a script through there, and then you can run it. If I actually just select one there, I've now got the run or the debug mode that I can actually go into. And the other thing that I can do with here is that I've got a thing called triggers. So if I press on that, I get this second tab, which is the project triggers. Now with the project triggers, it says I've got those functions or I've got that bit of code doing something. And it can be triggered by certain events. Now, if we just come back to here, one of the things I want to say about this is written in JavaScript, and it's called a GAS. So it's Google App Scripts, so you can actually look on Google Scripts and you can find one which is similar to what you want, and then you can tweak it to what tweak it to what you do, which is what I do a lot of the times. I actually just suddenly find a script that does something similar to what I want, and then I actually just copy it and tweak it to what I need to do. But the triggers are quite an important thing, because if we just go in and look at this trigger here, so these are the triggers. So this particular function out of the script out on my page of functions that I've got, this one here is running from the spreadsheet, and I can run it from a time-driven, or I can run it from a calendar. And I can do it, and it'll run from the spreadsheet. When the spreadsheet opens, you can run that script. Now that's when the spreadsheet opens. So if you're in a Glide app, it's not necessarily when you've actually got to open the actual spreadsheet. So it doesn't necessarily, that doesn't work in that well with Glide app. But you can do it on change. So each time a new row, or you put something into a new row, on that change, a script will run, and it will trigger those sorts of things. And you can have a form submit. So we'll talk about that briefly. Not that we'd use those forms, but I just want to talk about the other ones. Now you can actually also do it time driven. So you can actually say it's run at a specific date and time. It's run at every minute or 5 minutes, 10 minutes, every hour, every day, a week timer or a month timer. And if we come down to the last one, from a calendar, every time a calendar is updated, it triggers some event through there. So what this is starting to say is we can trigger on a calendar. So I just want to go into my Google things. And if you come into here, because you're in the Google environment, you're also linked into Maps, so that you can start accessing some of those things there. You've got your Google Drive where you're keeping a lot of things. You can link into your calendar, so you can actually have push stuff from your Google Sheets into calendar, and you can pull it from the calendar as well. And you can use the script functions to do that. So, and you can link into the Gmail and some other things as well, and doing that. And you've got your docs, you've got your bloggers, and you've got your other ones that you can actually link into. And there's some of the scripts actually allow you to link into these other ones as well. So not only have you got your scripts through here, but you can connect into other things as well. And inside your tools as well, you can create a form. So you can use a Google form instead of using the Glide app form. But in fact, the Glide app forms are brilliant, so I wouldn't actually bother using them at all. So another thing, so that's quite powerful. And along with that sort of architecture that you have there with your scripts as well, you can also connect into the Google Cloud. Now you can get free cloud things, and inside Google Cloud, you've got little cloud functions, which sort of will go across and write a bit of Python. You can write a bit of Python code that will do a bit of trigger. You can do some JavaScript on through Node.js, and you can do some event. So you can have an external event that comes in and does something inside your sheet as well. And that could be time driven or it could be event driven as well. You can also link into a Firebase, so you can link into a big powerful database inside Google Cloud so to come through and start doing things as well. So you've got other architecture you can come through, and inside here you can actually insert a chart, you can insert images, you can insert a drawing, and you can insert a form. You've got your functions, so where there's all your other functions as well that you can start playing with. But they're just functions inside spreadsheets of what you've actually got. Now, not only have you got all of that architecture as well, but you've also got some more functionality with add-ons. Now, inside add-ons, one that I use quite a lot is Autocrat. Now, Autocrat, you can actually have somebody add their email to a thing they've actually just signed up for a thing, or they've actually purchased something from you. And on your Google Sheets or whatever, you start identifying that somebody's done something. It can take that line of data, it can put it into a report inside either a Google Doc or a PDF file. It can then create a PDF form which you can attach to an email, send across to them with pre-filled in bits of information, and they can also send you a notification of what they've actually sent to them. So after doing one event, you've actually got these add-ons. So, and inside there's a phenomenal amount of add-ons that you can use. And if you just go into the add-on area, and let's just look at ones to do with email. And I'm just going to hit email on its own through there. And you'll see there's quite a lot of other things that you can start doing. There's forms, there's emails, there's all of these ones as well. As I said, there's an awful lot of stuff and a lot of these are free. So you can actually go through, and you've also got the number of other people who are using ones and the popularity of what those ones are for. So that's another place where you can explore to find things as well. So that's an extra level of connectability that somebody's built a bit of script or some programming that they've done in behind that you can then use their add-ons through there. And I find some of them really good. This is doing some analysis and stuff on some of the data coming through. So you have all of these things to actually make it a lot more versatile. So although you've got your GlideApps in there, you've got another power base on top of that. Now I've done some things. Now also within within Google Sheets. So that's the sort of environment that, you're not actually limited inside your app to what's in here on this particular page, or just by your basics inside your Google Sheets on their own. But I just want to go through some simple things just about Google Sheets. Just some people seem to be comfortable with spreadsheets and other ones don't. But there's also a lot of leverage that you can do, and this is more to do with stuff that you can use in GlideApps. So one of them is if you're just going down and doing a whole lot of columns, you can actually just go 1, 2, 3, and then just drag them down, and it'll carry on counting. Now the thing with that is that you could go 1, 5, 9. And whatever interval you got there, if you just drag them down, it'll just carry on those intervals at whatever. So it'll do that. Now, you can also do that. I'm actually just going to go back and go and put the, I've got a 1, 2, 3, and we just drag that down because I want to drag that. Oops. You drag that first thing down and you just drag this way. Now, if I write some text into here, so I'm going to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, through there. Now you see that the text goes to the left, so that's seen as strings and it goes to the left, and you see that numbers go to the right. But so the first thing I want to do here is I want to drag these ones down. Now I can just drag them down like that. Now it just goes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and it starts repeating itself, so it does that. The other thing that I can do is I've just hover over that square in the right hand corner and click on that. It'll copy down to whatever number are through here. If there's less than that, so we delete those off and we just delete all of those down through there, it'll only do them down to whatever the number on the left is. So that's quite a thing. The other one that we can do is that we can do Jan, Feb, Mar, and just put them through here. On what we do is we put them here. So we go Jan, Feb, Mar. So it happens we can do them across and along whatever way we want, and then they just come through and do the stuff. And if we drag even further, it starts all over again. So bang, that's quite nice. So we just go Jan, Feb, Mar. Oops, that's the problem with that. Feb, Mar, and we just bring those down as well. So we can do that. So that's quite nice. So text goes to the left thing. Now we can do some interesting things here. Now I can try and force numbers to be text. So if I use an upper colon, comma up the top there, apostrophe, if I put one there, now that's, and I'm going to copy a bit of this across to here. So if I go, this is equal to this plus this. You see it comes through as a number 2. Now I'm going to copy that formula down. I'm just going to drag that little blue icon down there, and it says value. So it says function add parameter 2 expects number values, but Feb is a text and cannot be coerced to a number. So what that says, that is actually text, but it can coerce it into a number. It says, I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to add that and that. So if I make that, so now the other thing here is you've got to get clear. This is adding this cell and this cell, and as long as they're the same type, it will sum them up. But this is a number in this cell, and this is a bit of text. Now you can't add the two together, so you get an error. And although this is text, it's coercing it to be a number because it looks like a number. So I can actually just put a normal 1 in there, or let's just put 10 in there. And then I can actually carry on dragging that formula down there, and it adds that and that, so that's fine. The 10 and the 3 works fine. Now I can do this, and I can drag that formula down even further, and it works. 4 plus true equals 5. Now I can do this again, false. And the reason it does this is because true and false are actually booleans. So they're like your on-off switch or the circuit being open or not. So true is actually 1 and false is 0. So if I just take those and I format them as a number, it's not. It might change them over to a one of those. Sometimes they come through like that, and sometimes they don't. So those will actually work, and other times they don't. So that's roughly just a little simple stuff that I just want to cover through there, just to make things a little bit easier. Now, date is a pick. So we're just going to go date, and we're going to take the date of the 25th of the 7th, 2020. So there's a date. I'm going to take another one, which is the 26th of the 7th, 2020, and we do it like that. Now I can format that column, and if I format that column there, I'm going to format it as a date and time. So now it's given me the date and it's given me the time. Now what I can do is I can go, this is equal to this minus this. Because this is 1 day later, it's gone -1. So I'll actually just go is equal to this minus this. So it recognizes that. So if I make that at 7 a.m. in the morning, or 7:15, 7 hours, 15 minutes, and 4 there, then you see it's suddenly given me some funny little number. Now I can also go, this is equal to the date, is equal to that, and I'm just going to drag that formula all the way down there, and I'm just going to grab those, and I'm going to drag a few more, so they just repeat it. So if I make that the 28th, then now I've got 3 of them. I can actually just get it going all the way up. No, it's not doing that. Delete. I've got to start that again. I think because, no, it's because my seconds are all up the whack, so it's not doing that. Doesn't matter. I've got a few bits of information through here. I'm just going to drag these down and just bring these through. Now, one of the things I can do is I can reconvert that date, format, number, and just make that a date. In which case, if I've just got those ones doing that at this point in time, I should be able to simply, no, it's not doing it, because although I've got the date, it's still got the time there. Because if I turn that back into format, because this is what you find that some of these things can be really frustrating. So if we go back, you can see that the time bit is still in there. Now, the other thing that I can do there is that I'm just going to go, that is equal to that one there. So I'm just going to drag that down so that formula comes across. I could have just clicked that. Now, if I go into that and I'm going to format that as a number. So here I've got a number. So how come that date and that time converts to that number? Now there's a thing on here called epoch time, epoch convert, which is the Unix timestamp. Now the Unix timestamp, this is the Unix timestamp, so this is now. So if I go now, whoops, and get that, I've got to copy and I've got to put it into there, and I've got a bit of text at the end that I'm just going to blow away and convert. You see, this is today's date, and it gives it in GMT, and then it gives my local time. Like I'm in New Zealand, so I'm 12 hours before there. So one's the 5th, one's in the afternoon, and one's in the morning. So this time here is, if I just press 0, it's counting every second from the 1st of January 1970 at 12 p.m. at midnight. So it's counting from there. Anytime I put a number after this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1 is a time. Let's just do 5, 6, 7. See if that happens. No, I've got to do the convert. And then it's given a time afterwards, straight after that. And this is the time. So this is as many seconds after that particular time there. So how do I convert this? So if I just go into here and I take this time here, I'm just going to select this. I'm going to go copy, and I'm going to go into here and I'm going to paste values only. I don't want to copy the formula. I want to copy the actual number. So if I take that number and go and paste it into there, convert, I get a whole load of gibberish. This is actually giving me, because I've actually got this number and it's got to be at least 10 digits. So if I delete that many and delete that and do that, it still might be, you see, now this is not enough. I'm just going to put another 0 onto that and do a convert. So this one, if I roughly get the right number of digits, it's actually telling me that it's the 20th of July 2109, which it isn't. So the Google time is starting from a different time to the epoch time. But the epoch, if you've got this number of seconds, you can work out your day, hour, week, month, and year. And it works it out based on all of them. So it knows about leap years and all of that because it starts from them. So as soon as it gets to the 29th of February, it just starts over onto the 1st of March of the next one. And then in the leap years, it picks those up again. So there's a certain conversion that you actually have to do. And this is the conversion which you actually have to do. So the Google one starts at a different time, and you've got to multiply by 8,600, whatever, it's all of that. So if I just grab that bit of data there, and I go into my test sheet, and I go, this is equal to, and I'm just going to open brackets, this number here, and then minus the date 1970, the one, and then multiply by 36. I think I've got that in the wrong place. There. I get this number 159, blah, 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 blah. Now I'm just going to do that through here. I'm just going to copy this and paste as values, just so that I'm not pasting a formula, I'm actually pasting a number. I'm going to copy that, and I'm now going to put that into the epoch time through there. And convert, and it says it's the 25th of July at 7:15:04 a.m. So if we go into there and look back at our date, that's where it is. So there's a bit of messing around to do. The other thing that's a bit of an issue is if I go, this is equal to last, I don't know what it's doing there. This is equal to this minus this. It does something weird. What the hell does that mean? And this is one of the things through here. If I come and select that and I go into format, and instead of number, I do duration, it then tells me the number of hours difference between this one and this one. So if I now select this one here is this one. Oh no, they're exactly the same. So what I'm actually going to, this is one thing I don't like about this. You've actually got to delete everything to get out if you've got a formula through here. I'm going to go and make that one the 28th of there, and then I'm going to subtract this one from this one. So if I go from here, that one, oh no, that one minus that one, I get 48. So it's doing it in hours through there. You can actually, a lot of the times you need to come from here, convert it into the single number, do your subtractions and multiplications or whatever you've got to do for your duration, subtract one from the other, then bring it back here and then convert it back into a duration time. So the other thing with the date through here as well is that I can take this one here and I'm going to format this through the number, and again there's some more formatting throughs here. So if I come through and do dates and stuff, I can actually get it to be like this one here. So it's now given me the day, the date, the month, the thing, the year, the thing. So it's actually, we can get quite a lot of detail and it can actually format it in different ways, and it's doing that on a number. So it's working from a number to do that. So doing duration can sometimes give you grief, is that you may have to put in a functional calculation to do something through there. And again, something through here on this one here, I didn't actually bring it through on here. But if I do a number here and I force that to be a string number, to change that back into a number, I need to go equals value. And then I select that, and it'll now move it across to be a number. Now with the value, I think I can actually go 0. Oh no, it isn't that one. Sometimes, now here's another thing. If you go and select the thing that you want, it gives you a bit of information about it, and that's actually just gone it through and it's got rounded. So here's rounded to 2 decimal places, so the columns actually got that pre-formatting. The other thing that you could do is that you can go and do, the other thing with this is that it gives you more information, and sometimes that pops on the side, but you can actually then see a lot of the other formulas and things that you may need, or stuff that you can actually put in to actually alter them through. And again, the same with that is that you can go back the other way. I think I'm going to go is equal to text, and if I just select that one there, hopefully that will turn it, and it's not going to do it. It's got a bit sulky on that one. Doesn't want to take that and convert it into text and push it to the other side. Whereas we can easily do that by just going, putting a colon there and then selecting that. Actually, no, that's not doing it. Equals that. And then actually that, no, that's just done. That's got a date format. So that's one of the things that can give you a bit of trouble anyway. So just basic formatting things and jiggling things around. Now, the next thing that I want to do is I want to talk about some of the powerful things that you can do in Google Sheets, and that is equals import. So you can pull in information from outside. In this one, you can import data from structured data online. You can import data in a CSV format. So therefore, if there's a CSV file, just a file sitting on the server somewhere, like you've got COVID information, a lot of them, they've actually got them in a file that's sitting somewhere like in GitHub. You can go and link to that file and pull that data in. You can import feed, which we'll be doing later on. You can import HTML. So you can import a table or a list or something from an HTML page. Import range, you can import from another sheet. So you've got another sheet that's doing calculations and things like that. You can then pull it across. So if you've got something where you're doing some calculation on another sheet and you need an update for your Glide app, then this is a great way of pulling in data. So I've got a couple of examples through there. One of them, this one here, is pulling in off this website. In fact, no, I'll use another example through here. So this is a Wikipedia site, wherever I've actually got that one there. Don't know where it is now. Here we are. So this is a Wikipedia site about the COVID information in New Zealand. So down below on part of the Wikipedia is a table. So if I'm just going to go into Chrome here now. Now I'm just going to delete and close out of here. So here's the actual table that's got all of this information in there. So this is the latest stuff on COVID from the first one. Doesn't matter when it is. And if I go into here and I go into more tools and developer tools, I get this whole lot of developer tools in here. I think I've got it in blank mode or whatever. Now if I click in the top left hand side of that, I've got a selection tool. So it lets me look at any item on the web page and it shows me the code of where it is. So if I come down to the table where I've got the table, I can look at a bit of information on that table. So when I click on that, you can see it says, this says table here, and then there says table body, and then it says, if I click on the body, it says TR, which is table row, and it gives information of the rows. And then if I go to the next row down, it's got 266, 1, 224, 1. So it's got information through there. So therefore, I can actually take that web page. So I'm just going to copy that web page across into Google Sheets through here. So I'll just go into this one here and I'll do it down here. And I'll just take that URL through there. I'm then going to go through and use this function here, equals import. And I'm going to import XML, and it says give me the URL and give me the XPath query. So the URL is that one there. Whoops, get out of it. I need to sit in there and go give me the URL, which I will see. Sometimes it's irritating when it sits there. And then I'm just going to go and close that at the moment. It's in error, doesn't matter. And now I'm just going to go back into Google. There we are. And I'm going to go and click on the first row there. And I'm going to copy the full XPath. Now I've copied that full XPath. I'm going back into my sheet and I'm going to paste values only. Whoops, bugger. That wasn't supposed to happen. And I want that one there. Copy full XPath. So if I go into my other sheet there, delete V, that's bringing that one through. Now I'm going to say that's where the URL is, and B87 is the body, but it's only given me one column of data. If I go back into the XPath and instead of where it says TR3, I'm just going to put star, it then drops all the data down. Now what I do is in the very first column, I actually color this just so I know where the formula is. So it sits off. So now I just pulled all of that data in. Now this one in thing is updated daily. So when it updates, it'll automatically update in the sheet here. So now I've actually just pulled in sheets. So I've got information. So if I was to do a Glide app that was to do with COVID and they say, which district are you in New Zealand? Here's your current situation. Now that one, recoveries, is actually showing something dark because it should be formatted as a number. So I'm just going to convert that to a number and then the numbers come back through there. So the recoveries, the active and the death, I think that one should be they don't come up there, but that should be cases, that should be deaths, that should be recoveries, and that be active. Something's just a bit squiffy through there. You can go through there. So instead of doing all of the lines, you can go TR and just do it from 2 onwards or something like that to the end. So you can actually, or the other thing that you can actually do is you can actually just hide those rows there and then just put a new title. So you can put cases. So there are ways of doing this, but to a certain extent, what I actually do a lot of the times is that I actually have one sheet where I bring everything in doesn't matter what scrap it is. Then I create another sheet, and then I go, this is equals to, and I go back to the other sheet, must be 8. No, 6. There we are. And I'll actually just take from there. So I'll actually just drag that information across and drag that information down so I know where it is. And then I'll actually put a title, district, DHB, cases, deaths, recovered, and active. And then I can start manipulating this data. So now I've got that data into here, and now here's some of the other things, is that I want this nice clean table. Now what they've done is that they've got the totals coming into New Zealand, and then what we've actually got is we've got all the different districts, but then we've got people who are coming in from overseas, and they're in managed isolation. But you see how all of those other ones take up that much room, and that last one starts getting a little bit too long. So what I can actually do is, this is where we've got to start doing a little bit of data manipulation. So inside here I can use the function split, and I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to take this one here, and when I look at what split is, if I look at there, split, we have the text and we want the delimiter. So the delimiter is a space. So we want that, comma, and then we want space. Oops, I've actually got I must have 2 spaces in there. Does that work? No. Space, enter. Not expanded. Now this is, you see that said, because I brought that formula all the way across, when I dragged it through at the very top, I dragged it through over to here somewhere. Although there's nothing you can see, there is a sort of it's trying to bring the sheet across from the other one. So it's actually not empty. So that's why that said reference. So if I actually I'm just going to copy that, and then I'm just going to go through there and just delete everything there so that I know that's there. So that means I can split that out into that one there. So I can now say, and this is what I do quite a bit, is I can go and see straight away, if you just type the first ones, it starts giving you an indication of what it's going to be. Cat. There. So I'm going to concat only concatenates 2 bits. Concatenate, the concat does 2, concatenate it. So I can actually just put that comma, and then I can put comma, and then I can put space, and then I can use isolation through there. So I can have that shortened through there. So I can say this is equal to that one. Then I can actually take that and click all the way down. It's not recognizing anything through there, so I just drag it all the way down through to there. But because this last one here, I can actually say, no, I actually want that one to be there, so it's shorter. So they're all roughly the same length. So what I can actually do now is that I can join up some information, because this is one of the things which I find on apps. If I just go into my Spent app here, what I do is I put a whole lot of information, so that, because again, on your app, you haven't got a lot of real estate, so I concatenate things together. Then it's shortened, so it gives a bit more information. So on this one here, I'm just using this as another demo. I'm going to say this is equal to this, is equal to concat. So equals and there it says concat. I can scroll down to that one there, concatenate that, then I can go comma. Now I can do this a couple of ways. I can do space, blank, I actually want to put a dash through there so that I actually have that number, and then I want to put the number of cases, comma, and then I'm going to put, I might actually put, I better just come back onto that again. I just take that out, and I'm actually going to go C, so it's number of cases, and then that, then I can do V, and I can go say recovered, and then I can put a comma into there, and I can put that one there, etc., 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 and go on. So I've started getting some information. Now I can actually just click on that, and it goes down and gives me all of that information. Another method that I can actually use for that one through there is on this one here, instead of all of this, I can go L10 and I don't even need the concatenate. I can actually just join all of these up together, and I might actually have to put an equal at the front of that. So that's another way of doing it. So you don't actually need to do that, you just join all the stuff up using an AND to actually join that up. And that's really a query method that you do this. Now, where to go for help? There is this guy who I think is absolutely fantastic on YouTube called Learn Google Spreadsheets. He actually teaches how to use spreadsheets, and he's got great ones for tutorials for beginners and all the way through how to use forms and API. Actually, I should read that one. But there's things like the queries, how to use the if, how to do HTML, CSS, and all of those sorts of things. Well, it's CSS. Some CRUD, which is read, delete, update, and create is the other one through there. And there's a whole lot of if then, find matches, crosstab, a whole lot of other methods of doing things. So this is a really, really useful resource to actually do. Otherwise, just Google things as you go along. So another way that I could have done that managed isolation through there, instead of actually using that split there, I could also use equals to left, open brackets, and taken that and go comma and the number of characters. So let's just say 20, close brackets. So it's too many. So I actually want to make that 18 maybe. 18. And there, so I've got that as managed 18. So instead of splitting them apart and then join them back together again, I could actually use left, but I actually want to use that as another demonstration later on for something else that I'm going to do. So what this is doing, this is taking data from a website, or it's scraping something cut from somewhere else. It's then using that information inside GlideApps where you can present it, but it's also cleaning up our data as we go. So that is quite important to do. So these are two concepts that I actually want to bring across. Now, other ones where you'd use this one through here is there's some other ones. So again, those are the equals to import. Now you can, with the import, there's import range. There's also one called ImportJSON, but that's actually a add-in script that somebody's written that you'd actually have to load up into your gas script, and it would then run it and then bring it into the sheet to actually use. So that's one thing. You're pulling data from somewhere else. Another way that you can pull data, and I'm actually just going to go, is import to Google. That's a bloody text thing. It's quite annoying. Equals Google. I can't remember what this is. See, we've got a couple here called GoogleFinance that I'm just going to bang into here. So there's one called GoogleFinance, and then there's another one called GoogleTranslate. So to do those ones, I'm actually going to come across and go back to some earlier stuff that I've been doing. So this one here is another one that I've done, which is import feed. So I've actually just used the demo that they've got here. So if I just go equals import feed, they've got a demo through here which is dragging the googlenews.com. So it's scraping that thing there, copying, and if I put it into there, it should break on me. Now it's breaking because there's already information inside here. So if I actually take that X and I put that on that new sheet through there, and I put it down here, not a problem. Oops, import feed, what's wrong with that? That should work fine. It's actually saying that there's something, delete, there, and it's come through. So there's something blocking that. So when you get an error, it's not necessarily an error. It might actually just be there's data in there. So where have I put that? We're trying to find that. There we are. So that's where the formula is through there. No, sorry, that's where the formula is. So I will just colour that just so that I know where my formula is actually sitting on that particular one through there. So this is pulling some stuff through. So this is where I wanted to give another demonstration through here. So let's just say this is pulling in a feed. Now I want to demonstrate two different things here. So I'm actually just going to X out of there and I'm going to put it a couple of rows down to there. So we come down to there and we come through. So the first thing is I've got all of this information through. So this is actually a summary. And if I go true, I'm just going to go true into there. That just means it brings the title and the author. And so this is a summary. So what I actually want to do is that I want to use a bit of this information through here, but I don't want all of this blank space, and I only want the first 100 or so. So I can actually go as equal to left, and then I'm going to hit that cell there. Sorry, that cell there. And then I'm going to say, give me the first 100 bits of text. So it's come through and it's got all this white space up the top. So left doesn't work for me. Well, I've got a thing where I could go right. So what that's doing is reading from the right-hand side. So basically, if I just go enter to that one, it's reading from the bottom backwards. Like it just imagines that as a complete string. So that just goes off into infinity, or not into infinity. It just goes off on one line rather than being down like this. So if I actually drag that one across, no, they're still doing that. Isn't that interesting? But the other one's working from the right backwards, working from the end backwards. So you can see that through here. So what do you do for the middle? So you can actually use, guess what? Mid. Now what we can say, so let's just go and look up mid and see what mid is. Mid is string starting at an extract length. So we've got the extract length of 100. So we can actually say the starting point is, we'll say 10, but we've still got this dot and thing. So let's just go 6 at this point in time. So we've still got a bit of white space and we still got some stuff through there. So what we can do through there is maybe about 12, and then suddenly we're cleaning up stuff there. And we've got enough of the front bit that we've got a little bit of a teaser on there. Now we could actually use that. So what we can actually do is that we could end up linking into a whole lot of feeds and bringing it in, and then we could be presenting that one through to other people as well. The other thing that we can do in here, now this is, so that's using the trimming. So this is where we're cleaning up the data to make it so that we can use it more manageable. So we have that in the first column, and then we have the URL link, and they're suddenly thinking, oh, that looks like an interesting sort of an article. I'll click on it and read more about it. So if you click on the article, off it goes and tells you more about what it is all about. The other thing that you could do with this as well is the other one, and we just do a little bit of a demo over there. So we're going to go equals Google. Sorry, no, so that wasn't, so I'm just going to use here another demonstration of something else, which is Google Translate. And this one here, I'm just going to use this as an example through here. Copy. And I'm just going to delete that there at the moment, and I'm just going to actually no, I'm going to go all up, and I'm going to go S, and I'm going to go N. And this is from and to. So now I'm going to use the term here equals Google Translate. And then I'm going to go, this is the word I want to translate. This is the language I want to translate from. This is the language that I want to translate to. So it's now going to convert that, and it's going to say hello. So I'm going to say adios, and it's now converted that to goodbye. Now I can suddenly say, well, I've actually got it in Spanish, but I want it into Arabic. So I'm going to translate it into Arabic, and it now translates it into Arabic. Or I want to translate it into, and here's the languages through here. I'm going to translate it into Korean. So, and I've just got to go KO. So I'm going to go into there, and I'm going to go, I'm just going to put it here as well so I don't forget it. And I'm going to go KO. And there it's translating into JO. So what I can actually do with this is that I can actually say translate Now I'm going to translate from English and I'm going to translate to Korean, but I'm not going to translate that. I'm going to translate this. So now I've got this article that I've gone and scraped off a different website, and I can say, what language would you like to translate to? And so you can actually have a whole load of pull down different things of feeds. So you can have a lot of different feeds, and then they can actually translate them into different languages. And so you can go to this side, and I will give a link to this one here, on languages, and you just choose the actual code for the language, and the Google Translator do. So not only is it translating one bit of text, it can actually translate paragraphs and a whole lot of other information. So I've actually done that. I did one on which was a app for a museum, and so it actually has the app in English, and then you could see it in Spanish, you could see it in Arabic, you could see it in Chinese and Japanese. I actually put the data, I actually got it here, and then I used Google Translate, and I pasted that information in so that I could format it correctly. So when I actually came back to the app through here, on this particular app, where's that one there? This one here, you choose the language that you want, and then it displays. So this is the actual display. So if we go through here, as you walk around, it has all of these pictures and things that you see, and then underneath it actually has some titles. So here you see these things, pictures or items or things, and then it has a bit of information next to it. So on that you can actually choose it in Arabic, so it actually has the same images, etc., etc., and it has that. So that's one thing that it's already pre-set up. So as you're going around the museum, it's in Chinese and other languages, and it actually has a map of what it is. So I thought that was a simple little thing you could do with that. So that's one idea that you can use through here. Now another one through here, just as an example of this one, is the other one that through there, and I use their example there, and that is equal to Google Finance. And we just select their one, and we'll select what they've actually got through there. So this is another thing that you could actually do, we put that through. This is the ticker places for Google. Now it's got the prices, so I could actually have that as high. So it's given the date, and it's saying from this date forward or whatever, this was the high. I can actually just copy that whole thing across to there, as I've got it fudged through there, and actually just make that one low. So I've got that as low, and therefore I can just hide that column. And there I've got my high and low on the date, and then I can actually say that is equal to that minus that. So I can see the range that it goes through, enter. And then I can just click on that, and it'll go down and give me all the differences through there, so I can see that. I can then make a graph on there, so I can come into here, I can go insert and insert a chart, and then I can actually select that information to show me to draw the chart through there, or I can do that in GlideApps as well. So that's something that I can quite easily, with the ticker that I want on here, I can actually just say Goog. And then I can on here, instead of putting that Goog there, I can just go is equal to that cell there. And it should still give it to me there. So if that was Apple or whatever, I don't know how Apple's done, or another one, I can actually just put in the code. So quite easily, I can actually just go in and I can have a whole lot of choice, Google, Apple, Amazon, or whoever I've actually got for shares, and it gives me certain dates, so that instead of that, I can actually go in and I can do a pick on dates as to how far back I want to go, etc., etc., etc. You know, this is just one that's just preset through there as a demonstration, and you can actually just put, daily or whatever, or highs and lows, etc. So you can have these pull down menus all the way through there. So I can actually have high through there, and then on that one there, the high, instead of there, I just take that out there and put that one in there, and then maybe I put in low, and then it's just giving me low, and we know that's low, etc., etc. So I can just do a pull down through there. So straight away you've got a share market type app through there. So that's another thing that you can do quite easily, and then we can start messing around with the dates and doing stuff like that. So here's some formula here's some things that are pulling information in from outside that you can then use to power up your Glide app for doing things, and you can then come down using picks. Now, one of the things that I do is that I put all of my choices over on a different sheet, therefore I can actually just get some visuals on certain things that I actually want. Or on this one here, this is based on my spending app, so I've got all of the places where I normally spend, and then if I don't, I add a new one in. So you can start doing some quite interesting things with a lot of this. So suddenly we've got an app that starts looking at the share market prices. We've got an app that's starting looking at all the COVID things. We're concatenating so that we can tell anybody by a certain district what their current situation is over there. We've got some information where we got some feeds coming through, and then we can translate those feeds into different languages through that. And we can start cleaning up this data. So we're using things like split, we're using trim. Trim is another one through there, is if I actually go equals trim, and then open brackets through here and close brackets, I think. Now you see on this one, there's a whole load of white space at the top. That's actually trimmed off any white spaces before. So that's actually quite a nice way of not how many white spaces. So you see here, I was trying to figure out that I had to take 12 spaces off, whereas in fact it's only 1, 2, 3 for the one, but there's all these other white spaces up here, which are free rows. So that's another way that we can use. I could have used trim, and then on top of that. So once I've done trim, on top of the trim, I could then use left, on that one there of trim, and once I've done the trim, I want to do left, and I want to do 4, let's say. Oh, sorry, no, left. No, I wanted to do mid, didn't I? Yeah, sorry, I wanted to do trim, then I can do mid, and then I wanted to do 4,100. And that should get me right. So there I've actually got all of those other ones tidied up. So that's another way of doing it. If I don't know how many white spaces and I have to guess each time and keep on tweaking it, here's another way. Just trim off all of the white space. Then I know that I've only got to move 4 in there. So there's 2 spaces in there. So that's another way that you can start doing this. So these are things that just, to a certain extent, this is sort of like just cleaning your data. You're pulling your data and you're cleaning your data. You're doing some other stuff like that. So again, another thing that you could actually do on this, and this is the next thing that I actually want to go through and start talking about, is linking across now relative and absolute locations. So I'm just going to, this is going to be equal to that, not that. Now, another thing here is that I've got some rows of data. So I'm just going to copy that down there. I'm going to go copy, and then I'm just going to go paste special values. So here's some values through here. So this is, I've been out spending, and so my US dollar, and then this is NZ dollar. So I've been out spending, I'm overseas, and I'm spending in US dollars. What am I spending in New Zealand dollars? So maybe the current exchange rate. Now I can go and scrape a site to go and find that data using the Importxml. And let's just say my conversion rate is 234. We'll just put that there. So what we can actually say is this is equal to that cell there times that there. So I know that I've just spent that amount of New Zealand money. Now that there is actually, for this one set up as British pound for some reason I haven't done my settings inside here. So I just put the dollar amount, but I'm actually, it's going to end up being the pounds amount. It doesn't really matter. So that's it. So if I drag that cell down to bring that formula down, you see it goes all haywire, because that's now trying to multiply this cell by this blank cell. So I get a 0. This one here is trying to multiply, this cell here is trying to multiply this cell here by this cell here. So that's not what we want. We want this relative cell, but we want to multiply it by this absolute cell here. So if I go onto here and I select the second cell and I go F4, it puts a dollar in front of the cell thing. So instead of WT, it's $W, $2. Now, if I drag that down, it's using that absolute position for all of those. So if suddenly my exchange rate goes up to down to 212, it automatically recalculates everything straight away. So this is where it's really handy, but I'm pulling this formula down. So let's just say I've just done another spend of 45. First of all, well, wait a minute. The other thing that I want, I'm just going to cut this down. I'm just going to cut and bring it down a bit further, just to give myself better room. So here I want to use equals sum. So I want it to add up all of the values that I've got. So if I just click out of that and just select sums through there, so that's the sum of all of that value. So if I drag that across there, I can suddenly say, well, that's what I spent in US. That's what it's cost me in New Zealand that I spent so far. But I've just added another item onto the end of that. But that's not changed. And if I and the formula's not changed, so I have to drag the formula down here to give me that. But it still hasn't added it onto that because that's only adding up to that. So how do I add automatically coming down there? Well, a really nice thing inside Google Sheets is you go V8, which is the top cell there, to V, and it will automatically add anything on. So if I add another one of those on, you'll see that that's always changing. So if I add another 12 onto that, you see the change. So this one won't, because I haven't actually done that one there, so nothing's changed. But if I go W8 to W, I think I'll do a backspace there, it will now add up. You see how that is now saying that it's summing anything on here. So if I just drag those and drag them down, extra information comes through. I've got some zeros and stuff. I don't really want those. So if I just drag those ones, copy and paste those to the bottom, you'll see those running total start adding. A couple of things I just want to highlight here, and I use this one here as an example just so that you see something happening through here, is here I'm going to use another thing called it's in format, it's called Conditional Formatting. And I'm going to do this and turn the cell red if it's greater than or equal to 700. 6943, so it's 7,000. Done. So now I'm going to add another couple of rows onto there. And you see that's gone over 7,000, so it's highlighted as red. So all that is just flagging that you actually had a set point and a condition has changed so that you can do it. Now, as that isn't going to go into Glide Sheets, it's quite a handy thing when you're trying to do checking or editing or just trying to tidy up a spreadsheet. There's certain events happen that you can trigger that off. It's like you did an email and you use Autocrat as an add-in and then you sent the form off, and that you can actually verify that a yes, no, or a trigger's happening. So you can have a Boolean of yes or no, or a true or false, and then it triggers every time it's a true or something. So you can see red, so it's easy to visualize. So a lot of that visualization stuff, although it's in Google Sheets, it's not coming through into GlideApps, and it is handy as a quick visual check on some of the things through there. Now, the next thing that I actually want to go through is, you see there's the formula. Now, the formula hasn't come down to all of these ones here. So to make that formula work, this one here, where I'm taking this and I'm converting it, I've got to drag that formula down to there. And then it updates, and it does that. So again, if I just change this to 212 to 16, we'll say, everything updates there automatically, but it isn't going down as I add another row. Like in GlideApp, I bring in another row, a bit of information. This isn't coming through. Now, how do I do that? How do I make that happen? Well, what I can actually do, I'm going to delete all of these, and I'm going to make this an array formula. Array formula. And then I'm going to go open brackets and close brackets, and I'm going to go V8 to V. Enter. Now you see that runs all the way down, apart from I've now got zeros all the way down to all of my rows. So you suddenly think, well, I don't actually want that, because sometimes Glide will actually start reading all of these extra rows. So I don't want that in there. It actually looks confusing. And in fact, it does an awful lot of stuffing up. So another thing that I can actually do is that I can do a bit of conditional formatting. And I can go is equal to that, if open brackets is blank, I, if it isn't blank, by. And we have is blank, and we go and select that cell there, and we go V8 to V. Enter. And that's not quite running down, but if I drag that down, we can see all of these are saying by, because it's not blank. Is blank? Is that blank? No. So it's by. Is it blank? Yes, that's blank. So we say hi. So we can combine these two things to use this. So we're using an if statement. So if this cell is blank, we can do something. If it's not blank, we do something else. So let's just add those two together and make that be a thing through there. So we can use equals Arrayformula, open brackets, if is blank. So if it's empty, and then we go from here, boomf, V8 to V, close brackets. Then if it's blank, we just tell it to leave a blank. Otherwise, do the formula that times that, and then the W2, we're just going to select that and just go F4, and the V8, we're going to V8 to V, that one there. And I think I need a double to make that work. And now you see it comes down, and as soon as it hits a blank space, it doesn't show anything. Now let's just see if that works. Let's just copy 3 of those down, or whatever. Automatically it comes down and recalculates. So it's using that formula all the way down. So we don't get any of these things. Now, a dangerous thing with this is if I just go and put one after a whole load of empty cells, and I put a 1 through there, it will do that calculation. Sometimes these blank cells, sometimes GlideApps sees these blank cells as being full of something, even though they're blank. So it starts trying to put something on the end of the form. So sometimes, wherever your calculations got to, and I'm just going to do something pretty filthy through here, is that you basically got to come down, shift, select all of the cells up above, up to 1,000, and delete the rows. So the rows only go, now you see that one there, it's just recreated them all again. So where was that one we were doing the formula? Where was I doing that formula? Here I'm doing the formula. So this is forcing more cells into it because I've got this GoogleFinance through here. So I'm just going to delete the formula. So that stops them going into there. So this one here is another formula because I've hidden that cell in between. So I'm just going to unhide columns, and I'm going to delete that one there so that I've got that one there. So the only thing that's forcing stuff in my column is this one here. So I'm just going to take those and put them further down so that that's where they all work from. And then from that point there, which is 45, and we're just going to go through and delete those rows. So it's not quite deleted. There's something else pushing this sheet down. I don't know what. Something in here. So I've obviously dragged data across from somewhere else. Delete. Well, actually, let's just delete those and see what happens there. This can be a thing, because the thing is, when you get it with a blank row at this point in time, as soon as you add another row, like we're going to add one, and Google Sheets comes in and adds another row, and we add something through there, it'll come through. So GlideApps will create another row, but it stops this spitting all the way down for 1,000 and suddenly end up with a whole load of blank lines. Now, I've had that issue quite a lot of times, so it's actually worth noting that. So the array formula's somewhere through there. Another formula that is quite a handy thing if you do for managing errors, like we're using the isblank to stop this formula progressing all the way down and creating formulas if there's actually a blank cell. Again, that was one methodology that I used. Another methodology that I used through here was to actually, this one here is an on chain. So every time a new row is added, this one here would bring this formula in to actually do the calculation for me at this point in time. So this one here, for my calculations through here, it does this calculation through here. You see there's no formula. That has got the formula through there. So it actually puts that formula through there and copies that down for the next row every time something is added. So if I add something through here, you'll see something should be coming through there, I think, and there it comes through, because it's actually going through. It's being triggered by the formula. It's actually coming through, running this bit of code through here, and it's putting that, and it's doing a concatenation based on what's in here. So if I put something there or something there, and what was the last one? I think it's in tech or something. I can't remember which one it is. It comes through and does it. So and that's where it's bringing a formula through there. So you can use that array formula one, and you'll see people talking about that as a process to do. So those are just some of the things that, so to a certain extent, pulling in data from outside, data cleaning, using array formula to push things down, using things like GoogleFinance, GoogleTranslate for those sorts of translation apps, importing information in, and you see here on this particular one I've only got a single cell, so it'll create a new cell, and this is one based on pulling in, I'm using Google Calendars as a database. So this is a reservation app. It pushes a reservation into Google Calendars, then it brings it out, and then it's telling you all the information about the particular appointment that you've actually got, and it stops it spreading all the way down and having a lot of blank rows, because this one through here, I think somewhere along the way, oh no, it's on this row here, has a whole load of array formulas all the way through on a lot of them, and some of them get a little bit messy as far as what they're actually doing. But there is a way of doing this through there, and again, array formulas, and I'm just using an empty row to do that. So I hope that's been of interest to you. I'll put down those things, and as I said, the sort, the left, the right, the trim, those things I'm using all the time, especially cleaning up data, getting the data in a way that you need it to display. So you can format cells. Dates is a challenge all on its own, and it's quite a lot to actually get it, especially if you're trying to switch between dates and duration, and trying to get those to actually calculate correctly. I did that on one of my other videos. So this is just, I just wanted to actually just scratch some of the basics of using Google Sheets, and some of the power that it actually has through the things. Now, I've only just scratched the surface with some of the things that I use a whole lot of other ones. But you might find those tools quite a useful thing. And I find, and using things like the absolutes and the and this one here, quite handy things to use all the time. So I hope that's been of interest to you. Thank you very much for watching. If you found it useful, please give a thumbs up. If not, op pan your arm. Thank you very much.